Hey everybody, it's Viral Orbit. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today is the first video of my new series, Favorite Fives. Each month, I'm going to release one video covering 5 items over a specific type of list. This month, I'm covering my top 5 favorite indie games. With that said, let's get started. Starting out at number 5 is a genre you guys know I love, horror. Take a look. Red Barrels proved to the world they were a notable survival horror developer when they released Outlast in 2013. Outlast puts you in the shoes of an investigative journalist who's received word of some crazy shit going down at a nearby psychiatric hospital. Once you reach the hospital, you discover some horrific events are taking place. There are dead bodies strung about, patients are running around in the halls, and some very grotesque beings stalk you from the shadows. Some of the scenes in Outlast are some of the most terrifying I've experienced in a video game. To top off all the gore and nightmare scenes, the game only allows you to run and hide from enemies. And if you want to navigate in the dark, you'll have to use the night vision on your camera, which slowly runs down your battery. It's one hell of a time, and one that will certainly leave you pissing your pants. Number 4 is a game you've probably never heard of, but board game lovers would adore. Here it is. Developed by Jerome Bowden and having released in 2016, Frost is a survival deck building game where you do your best to stay ahead of a disastrous blizzard. In order to stay ahead of the storm, you are required to build a deck of tribespeople, resources, and food. Those with experience of deck building will find this game's mechanics intuitive, but it will take some time to understand the resource management aspect. Frost doesn't hold you by the hand as you do your best to stay ahead of the storm. Each time you can't travel, the storm moves a day closer to you. Once that day hits 0, you fail and start from the beginning again. It took me more than 100 attempts to beat the basic scenario. That said, I had an extremely fun time with Frost. It's very challenging, especially when it throws various events at you, like a bear or cannibals, but the constant rewards it gave me for getting further each time and continuous play were enough to keep me engaged. The more you play, the more scenarios you unlock, which change the way you can play. The replay value of Frost is higher than any other game on this list, so please give it a shot. Number 3 is a special place in my heart because it was the first indie game I ever played. Here it is. Playdead's 2010 puzzle platformer Limbo coaxed me with its gritty world and one-of-a-kind art style. Limbo is the first indie game I had ever played, which is partly why it makes this list. However, its spectacular puzzle platforming mechanics and art style make it an easy choice for any top 5 list. Limbo puts you in the shoes of a boy who's dropped in this black and white world full of insects, traps, flooded rooms, and a variety of other hellish contraptions designed to kill you. It is truly the definition of what we believe to be limbo. As you travel through the world, you have to do the best to survive it. There are plenty of puzzles along the way, but none of them are too difficult, so you can still enjoy the experience. The story is relatively abstract, if not very bare, but the art style and gameplay mechanics are exceptional, which are exactly what will attract you. Number 2 is a relaxing experience with mythical creatures and great coffee. Check it out. Some of you may have heard me mention Coffee Talk in my When the Past Was Around playthrough, and that's because it's my second favorite indie game. This visual novel, released by Toge Productions in 2020, is set in a fictional Seattle, Washington. You see through the eyes of the owner and sole barista of a cafe known as, well, Coffee Talk. This cafe is unique in that it's only open at night. The world of Coffee Talk is filled with more than just humans, but also vampires, orcs, werewolves, and even aliens. Unlike other visual novels, Coffee Talk has no dialogue options. Your character talks and listens to the customers. The only gameplay mechanic is making drinks for customers, which can influence some dialogue. That said, this game is extremely fun to experience. By the end of it, I was left loving each character after hearing about each of their lives. It tells an extremely human story with mystical creatures. Plus, the soundtrack to this game is superb. If you're into lo-fi, then check out the soundtrack on YouTube or Spotify. Before I get my number 1, I want to give you guys some honorable mentions. If I had a top 10 list, these games would certainly be on it, but they just didn't make my top 5 list. Here they are. finally, number 1 encompasses everything I love about indie games. Here it is.
I wasn't. Should I be?
Well, the wind.
At number 1 comes Firewatch. Developed by Campo Santo and released in 2015, Firewatch is a first-person adventure game. The game is set in 1989 Wyoming after the Yellowstone fires. You take control of Henry, who's taken a job as a firewatch after his wife develops extreme stages of dementia. He takes a job to get away as his wife doesn't remember the life they had together. On the job, he meets Delilah, another firewatch in a neighboring tower, and a supervisor. The two characters talk, connect, and experience the story together over a pair of walkie-talkies. This is where Firewatch really made an impact on me. The voice acting in the game is superb. You can hear the inflection and meaning of each line spoken between Henry and Delilah. Various dialogue options give you plenty of ways to mix up dialogue to make it more engaging and entertaining for you. The outstanding voice acting performances paired with an aesthetically pleasing art style and mysterious plot makes Firewatch my favorite indie
To make
game
sure
of
the
all
damn
time.
wilderness doesn't burn down.
No. Our job is to be here when that happens. Henry, there are some things you can't prevent. So just stay in your tower, okay? Stay in there and watch.
Well, guys, that's the entire list. Let me know what you thought. Let me know what indie games you play in the comments below. I know I covered a lot of different indie games. Let me know if you've played any of these and what you think of them. Check them out, please. They're really, really good games. They're great experiences. They're also very different from AAA experiences. So if you're looking for a smaller, artsy, just through and through a video game that's amazing, these are really good games that you should check out. Be on the lookout for games from these developers, from these studios. I highly recommend it. Also, for my next video, let me know what you want me to rank my top 5s. And it doesn't have to be in video games. It could be movies. It could be food. I don't care what it is. It could be more another video game genre like horror, which is probably what I'm going to dive into next, honestly. But please give me any recommendations you have. I'd love to hear them. Thank you so much. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.